you've been to us. This is terrific. We really appreciate this. And I'll tell you, this is one of the few times for all of us here that you'll be in the same room with as many brave people as you are now. Selfless people. Cool. Thank you. We're proud. First of all, we are giving these to your unit. These photographs up here, these frames. These go to you. And of course, the white dot on the tail boom was our marker. Also, a little history on the unit. Formed in Colorado Springs in 1968. And I don't know what these guys were thinking, but they drank a lot of this wine, and that was the name, how they got the name of the Lancers. It's not very romantic, but but we do keep up that drinking tradition from time to time. Also, this was done by Bruce Nesbitt. It gives a great beginnings of the patch, including this initial drawing, freehand drawing by one of our members, one of our crew chiefs. That also will stay here with you, but that was the beginning of the Lancer patch.
Very good.
This is the history. By the way, each of you will be getting one of these coins. And we don't have one of these cards for you, but this coin represents who we were with this iconic photo that you see. This was pulling people out from a SOG mission, which was a Special Observations Group. These were scary missions, very scary missions, and oftentimes getting them out was a lot more exciting than getting them in.
The pilots didn't have any doors.
I'm sorry?
The door, I remember.
Took the doors off.
Took the doors off.
Pilot crew and co-pilot doors were removed for easy egress. And also had where the wire rig went through the body was ready to be yanked out if necessary.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Thank you. The first one of these I went on. I didn't know anything about them. I've only been there for 2 weeks, and I was told to remove my U.S. insignia. They gave me a different blouse to wear. They gave me a silk scarf that had many languages printed on it. It said, if you find this man, if you return him to friendlies, you get the equivalent of $500, which was a fortune for them. It scared the hell out of me, I'll tell you. But it was a good mission, a great mission. And these oftentimes were out of country. They were all classified. They were either to Laos. We didn't go down as far as Cambodia, but we did go into North Vietnam. 5-man American teams. Some of the bravest people you can ever imagine, and scary people. And taking them out once on these, you can't really see it. When you come up and take a look at this, this is also for you to hang here. But these guys were, in this case, on ladders. You pull them out, and if they were still in the ladders, it means it was a really hot extraction. And oftentimes they would be clipped on and firing their weapons back as we were coming out, as they were clipped up. And in one case, I remember someone climbing up the ladder in flight, saying, "How far are we from the hospital?" Because one of the guys was badly injured. And when he found out he climbed back down the ladder, it's roughly 100 miles an hour. A long way from friends, a long way from home. But anyway, that's what this represents. Well, this is kind of the example of it. We're the Lancers, of course, as you are, and we have the ladder on the back. Mine's going to come out in the back. It lists the places where we were in Vietnam, and some of the places, including I Corps, the Ashall Valley, Hamburger Hill, Ripcord, the Siege of Ripcord, O'Reilly, the DMZ, Khe Sanh, Laos, North Vietnam, and many more, too numerous to name. And we left blood in all of those. So in some cases, we didn't leave our bodies, but we lost people in some of these. Anyway, that's where you hang. That does a little bit of an explanation here for that.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. This book is being left for you, and this is primarily for the crew chiefs because it's been signed by Bruce, and you'll see pictures of most of us who were in Vietnam at that time. We didn't get all the pictures. I wish we'd gotten more. But this is as many as we could come up with, and we're very proud of it. And finally, we have these items for you. Of course, the original Lancer patches for each of you. These are the CCN SOG patches, the Special Observation Group. This was it's a patch proudly worn by all of our members too. On occasion, you'll see one on somebody's pickup truck window or whatever. You think, boy, we have a common history. We have something to talk about. This is thank you. Here's the coin for each of you. We designed this last year and thought we were going to need 500, and we went through over 1,100 of them. We may have to get some more printed. We also have a patch for any of you who would like one of those. That's in each of these packages.
I think that's everything else. It's just stickers the same.
Yeah, the thing.
Yep.
Anyway.
So then there's stickers and pins with the same logos on them as well in each baggie.
Yeah. And thank you again very much. And we're very proud of you. And you're carrying on a tradition we can see. And we're so proud of all of you. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you again for coming out. Continue to enjoy the food. And then for the modern day Lancers, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have a place at the
Holiday Inn Express.
Holiday Inn Express.
And I, by the way, am one of the original Lancers. I joined the unit when it was still the 246th Aviation Company at Fort Carson, Colorado on the 6th of July of 1968. And there were about 20 of us there then. And I was also the first crew chief signed up for the Lancers. And I cheated. I was the only 6 foot 6 inch tall crew chief that wore glasses in the entire United States Army. The first sergeant found on my paperwork when I checked in that I could type, and he said he desperately needed a supply sergeant, and would I volunteer? And we negotiated, and it finally worked out to where if he'd give me a crew chief slot, I'd be his temporary supply sergeant and do what he told me to. He did, I did, and he did. And it's a wonder I'm not in jail. Our first sergeant was a World War II veteran, and he was a master scrounger. We were probably the best equipped company to go to war in Vietnam that ever went over there. We traveled with twice the allocated number of Connex containers, with twice the material allocation, with about half again as many personnel as we should have had. And we were extremely well equipped. We had all of the fancy uniforms, all of the fancy flight suits, all of the flight jackets. Anything you wanted we had in stock, and we had for trading material. He sent one of the warrants to Saigon with TDY orders and 2 Connexes load of flight jackets and helmets. And in 2 weeks, tractor trailer truck load of building material started to show up in our camp area. The drivers would get out and hand us the papers and ask us for a ride to the airfield so they'd catch a plane back to Saigon. Well, what do we do with the trucks? I don't give a damn, it's your truck. So,
They were probably stolen too.
oh yeah, the trucks, we swapped part of the stolen trucks off and we kept part of them. We had the best motor pool in the battalion. Sergeant Eastep finally overstepped himself and got in trouble, but anyway, he did a hell of a job while he was there.
Yeah, the first 2 times I met him was when he delivered refrigerators for the new mess hall. The second time when he delivered a Jeep for company commander.
When they loaded our helicopters on the ships to take them to Vietnam, they had 2 huge coolers they were shipping to division headquarters to go in the division officers club. The things were 12 feet long, about 5 feet square, and they couldn't figure out how to load them. And the people we had sent over there to help get the helicopters ready to ship told them the best way to do it was to shove them inside the helicopters, let them stick out on both sides. Then when they got to the port and over in Vietnam, all they'd have to do would just be fly them up to the division headquarters. And they did, and they did fly, not very well, but they did fly. But one of them spent its career in our officers club, the other one spent its career in the NCO club. We were pretty much professionals at scrounging, so we did well for ourselves. But I started flying when the company started flying. I flew through Hamburger Hill, flew through O'Reilly, flew through Ripcord, flew through Vagel. Was there when we went into the Oshawa Valley. Flew out of Quang Tri with the special ops people with what's known as SOG right now. You see them in the books and all. It's a special operations group. It's actually the studies and observation group for MACV South Vietnam. It was strictly a black outfit. Bill may be totally upset when I say this, but he got a the guy that turned him in, if he got lost, got a $500 reward, but the NVA had a $10,000 bounty on flight crew members.
There was one other thing, when we flew those SOG missions, we had to sign a document. They had a compound inside a compound, and they were really black ops stuff. And we had to sign a document that says, if I remember correctly, if we were shot down or whatever, the Army was going to go, we don't know where those guys were at.
Right.
Okay? It was just that highly sensitive a mission. Usually a couple of SOG guys and maybe some indigenous people with them. Sometimes they would go out dressed as NVA. Sometimes they would have an AK-47 with them because they said the last thing they wanted to do is get into a firefight and they can zero in on you because they could go the pop, 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 pop. That's what an M16 sounds like, versus a crack, 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 crack of an AK-47. So they carried a lot of that stuff. But they were strange guys, I'm telling you. They were a different breed.
They'd all be in North Vietnamese uniform, and they'd all have North Vietnamese weapons. They would tell us when we went on the extraction to get them that if the people who come running out of the jungle, that you would not have a yellow bandana tied on their right arm, they are not friends, and you light them up. That was literally the way it worked, was you had to know which arm they had the bandana on and which color bandana they were supposed to be wearing to know whether they were friendly or not.
You also have the deep satisfaction of knowing if we went down amongst those guys, we would be the last ones to die.
That's correct.
Because they took care of everything.
You know, the interesting thing is when you get in the room there and you sign the document, because on the wall there was a sheet. Then when I signed the document, you're scared now. Then they pull the sheet off, and you go, holy shit.
We would drop those gentlemen into areas that were known NVA, battalion, brigade, division level, supply areas, combat areas, and we would make several insertions, maybe 3 to 5 insertions, and they didn't know where we dropped them. You know, they were fake insertions, boom, 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 maybe a couple clicks away from each other. And we would go back to Quang Tri, where their camp was at, inside Quang Tri compound, and we would wait. And then the buzzer would go off. Now we would take the helicopters and we would take the rotor blades on the Hueys and they'd be drooped, the throttles set, all the switches set. All you had to do is light the engine. And we had to be in those helicopters typically ready to go within 2 minutes. And that helicopter had to be out of there. I think it's 2 minutes. It was pretty fast. Because it was like a scramble. You know, when that horn went off, you had to be ready to go. And then we're hightailing it to those guys. And typically, what you would hear for some of those guys, they would whisper they would whisper over the radio, and they'd go, "They're all around us. They're next to me." I mean, they were crazy guys. And sometimes that radio went dead, and we don't know what happened to them. We don't know if they were killed, captured, or E&E'd out of there. But some really highly sensitive missions that I think with the Lancers, we were probably maybe the precursors of the 160. We didn't do a lot of night ops because we didn't have that capability, but flying with those guys was really different.
If you don't mind, one more war story. Just Project Delta, during that, I was a brand new first pilot, and still very nervous, so there's a lot of responsibility. And our most charismatic officer, Captain Eugene Miller, and his whole crew were killed in this. This was a secret operation as well. And our commanding officer told me to report for duty the next day, which I admit that was pretty scary going in. So we went in, and as I was being briefed, there was a CIA guy there, and a guy from the Marines, and the Army brass, I forget what his rank was. And they just started explaining where we were going into Quezon, but there were no friendlies in Quezon. And the siren blew, almost like a prairie fire. So everybody started running out, and they said, "Look, you take your aircraft, Father, you can be the chase bird." I went out, they put the hoist on my bird. And I said, "Well, somebody else got to fly it." They said, "No, you got to go." I said, "Come on, I've never even seen one of these missions." They said, "No, you're going. Just start it now, crank and go now." So they did give me one of our co-pilots who'd been there for 4 or 5 days, so he'd at least seen the operation. So we went out in a triangle formation, and the command and control said, "Look, they'll have these international orange panels they'll lay out in a certain configuration. If it's not that configuration, or if there are more than 7, kill them all." I said, "Say again." I said, "Kill them all." Cut a couple of buttonholes in the seat, and went out and did a high overhead approach, such as it was. We came back out, flying out, and as we were, I glanced over. There's an AK-47 across the console, and the guy's in a hardcore NVA uniform. That's right. I almost crap. I thought we picked up the bad guys. I had no idea. No, they neglected to tell me that these were mercenaries who would be dressed in NVA uniforms. So it provided a lot of humor for the company for the next few days, at least get their mind off Captain Miller. So. Yep. But I'll never forget that. I thought, "Oh my God, we picked up the bad guys." I said, "Oh, geez."
Want to go back to Arbor and get a PX.
Could we get the lady who took a round? The both of you? Could you get over with her?
Yeah.
And can you state your names and tell us the story about taking a round
Oh boy, you tell the whole story.
through,
All right.
through your helmet?
So my name is Patricia Peterson. We were out in the Helmand Promise wire area. Well, we'd originally we were going up to Marja to go pick up somebody that had been wounded, and we got the call, "Hey, they're taking fire down. The Marines are taking fire. We need you to go down there." And we all talked about it as a crew and decided together, we're like, "All right, we'll go fly down there and go pick these guys up." And the LZ was hot at the time, so that's why we had to have the discussion about it. So, and Eli, Sergeant Hayes, wherever he's at. Back here. Yeah, he's back there. He was, there he is. Hi. So he was in the crew seat on the left. He was getting progressed at the time, so our platoon sergeant's behind me in the back, and then I'm sitting on the right, and we're basically just flying at we were at 200 feet.
Oh, if that.
Yeah.
If that.
Flying around, trying to see what we could see, take away the fire from the guys that are trying to go in and get this Marine that's landed. And I remember looking, and I saw this building, and I saw everybody lined up from tallest to shortest, and it was a mom and all the kids. And I was like, that's kind of weird. And Sergeant Franklin's like, "Well, we're taking fire. That's where they say they're at. I'm going to crawl up and look." And as soon as I'm trying to look to see what's going on, I felt something hit me in the back of the head, and I thought maybe he was just fucking around with me or something. And so, yeah, and Sergeant Franklin's like, "We're taking fire. Climb, climb, climb." And I'm like, "Where?" I'm hanging out the helicopter. What? I'm gonna shoot this guy, trying to shoot at us, right? And so we come back over the medevac gets off the ground. They've got the patient. We're flying back in, and Sergeant Franklin's like doing this. I'm like, what? Get off me! What do you want? He's like, nothing. Just keep looking forward. And I'm like, okay. So, and at this point, you know, I just thought it felt like I got hit with like a rock or something, like starting to come back. I blacked out there for a little bit. And then he told me to turn my head, and the pilot that was sitting in the seat, very calm guy, didn't get riled up, didn't curse, nothing. They're like, hey, look at this, and I turned my head, and he goes, holy shit. I was like, all right, you need to tell me what's going on. So he's like, reach up by your right ear, and I felt right here, and I felt the hole. I was like, okay, that explains what had happened in here, and like I had like a cut on my nose, some on my neck, but what had happened, where your nape strap sits, the bullet had hit that metal bracket on the nape strap, gone across, and shot out by my right ear, right where your ear cups are.
Grace of God, you went.
Yeah, so we landed, and I pull my helmet off, and I look in it, all the foam had been blown out of the back, and I just started bawling. So it was, you know, you could see the line across the nape strap where that bullet went. So yeah, it was literally that much.
Glad you made it. Glad you made it.
I'll tell you, in Lamson 719, we landed in landing zones with aircraft down on the ground, all around us, burning. 12 aircraft and LZ Lolo all down. So it's your turn. Anybody got a story out there? Got a young man right here.
Step up. Step it up.
On the spot.
Hey, it don't have to be a war story. You got something funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, it wasn't with the Lancers. I haven't deployed with them to Afghanistan, but when I was in 3rd ID, had a few hot missions out there around Tarin Kowt in Afghanistan. One day we're going out with the Australian SAS, and we were trying to find some time-sensitive targets out there. So we'd be on standby all day and get called out as soon as a call came in that we had good intelligence. So we got launched out by about 1300-ish in the afternoon. Went out to a mountain. There was a cave in the side of it, and as we were coming on approach, we'd done one full orbit around it. Dudes came out of the cave, started shooting RPGs and PKMs at us. And I was on the left-hand side of the aircraft. We're making left orbit, so I didn't get the opportunity to fire at it. But that's a pretty good story of getting engaged in the aircraft. So that's all I got.
Well, just for all the modern day Lancers, the old Lancers set up a room at the Holiday Inn Express just north of Gate 7, so go out Gate 7, take a left. And tonight and then tomorrow night, everybody is welcome to go over there, bring your own alcohol, hang out. They have some stuff over there, and continue just to enjoy telling stories and getting to know each other. So if you have any questions, I'll push out more details about that tonight or this afternoon, and then again tomorrow. And so tomorrow we'll try to do something a little bit more formally, try to get the whole company out there, as many as people as can participate out there together, and have some pizza or something to spend one last meal together before everybody heads back to wherever they live across the country. So
There's also a pool at that Holiday Inn.
Just in case.
Thank you.
There's a pool.
Everybody get your bag. Get a bag.
I want one of the new patches.